morning, everyone. Can you all hear me back in the back? Excellent. All right, my job today is to read this book to you from front to back. Shouldn't take but a couple of hours. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay. Great, because I don't like reading to people. I do ask, though, if you would, read this book all the way through. Make sure you bring it back with you on Election Day. It's chock full of great information for you. It is your guide for Election Day, especially the first few pages. All responsibility of election officials. It's pretty much your do's and don'ts on Election Day. And I can break it down for you real simple. Do everything right, don't do anything wrong. All right? And you'll have a great election. The next few pages are broken down by specific duties. Precincts, sheriffs, judges, and clerks. Everybody knows their positions in here? What you'll be doing other than the alternates? No? Yes? Oh, you did? Well, thank you. Oh, okay, Trimble County. All right. She'll get you set. Where's my sheriffs at? There we go. You guys are responsible for going outside and setting up cones, handicap parking signs, maybe some flags at different locations, all the signage that we do. I think this year it's new for you guys, isn't it? These poster boards?
Yeah, we did not use the poster.
But you have the signs, the posters? Okay. Yeah. This year you're going to have 2 posters that have all your signs already on them, which will help you to at least get them taped up near your precinct. You will probably have some additional signage in your supply bag that will have to be posted outside. Also the sheriffs, we know that they keep chaos down inside the precinct, correct? Try to, hopefully, yeah. And help with the electioneering, making sure nobody's coming in and doing any electioneering inside the precinct. And Julie's already spoke to you about the 100-foot electioneering boundary. What I really ask from you on that, because it's so iffy right now, anything outside your precinct door, if a voter or you think somebody is doing something with electioneering outside, please assure that it is a electioneering that's going on, so you're not just calling to get the sheriff to come out. But if someone truly is, leave that up to the county sheriff. Call into the election board here and let them deal with that outside the precinct. Don't take it upon yourself to go out there and deal with that. Anything inside the polling location is your responsibility. So if anybody was to come in and hand out pins, buttons, any pamphlets, please take care of that, okay? Now, if a person walks in that has a hat, pin, button, shirt, maybe a Democratic sign or a Republican, are they allowed inside the polling location? Yes. They are. But they can't do it as trying to use that to persuade somebody to vote either Republican or Democrat or for a candidate, okay? That would be construed as electioneering, all right? Exactly at 6 p.m., what does the sheriff do? Step in the back of the line. And you all have locations here with multiple precincts, is that correct? Yes. Okay. Please make sure that all the sheriffs go to the back of the lines at the same time, okay? Because that can cause some problems if they're not. If other voters got through one precinct and not the other, right? So please make sure you're synchronized and you go together. All right. Where are my clerks? All righty. The clerks, I borrow your nice little bag here. As soon as you get to the polling location, everything is delivered for you, including the supply bags. We ask the clerk to open this supply bag and get everything out of it, correct? Yeah, thank you. Make sure you check and you have your precinct roster, okay? Clerks. Also, these rosters are divided into what? Democrat, Republican, and nonpartisan. This is a primary election. The only thing on this election is state offices. There's no nonpartisan races. So if a nonpartisan showed up at your precinct, do they have anything to vote for? No. Absolutely not. Also, if you got to a name inside either the Republican or the Democratic section, and out by their name it says nonpartisan, are they allowed to vote? No, that means they've changed their party affiliation after December 31st. So they're considered nonpartisan for this race. All right? So make sure you're checking that. Also, clerks, when you get there that morning, check all the list of the absentee voters in here. Make sure they've all been marked. These are packed early, these supply bags, so there could be some more absentee voters that weren't marked, and you'll need to make sure they're accounted for. Same thing with late registration. If anybody got registered late and they didn't make it to this roster, and you have a supplemental roster with late registration, okay? Make sure you're aware of everything going on.
Also, the key for the e-scan, do y'all know where that is? It's inside the roster book, okay?
The key to the e-scan, did everybody hear that? Yep. When you fold it, it's inside the roster book. Give that to the judges. Also, something brand new for you. You will have a red bag in here. It's called official results bag inside the supply bag. This is going to be used to bring back on election night the e-scan key, e-slate tally envelope, e-scan tally envelope, ballot accountability statement, sheriff's report inside this. You guys remember these envelopes that are down in there? E-scan, e-slate. They're going to have opening, closing, and MBB cards for each machine. That goes in here. That way they can process you in and out real quickly on election night. They can zip this open, and if everything they need is inside this bag, then you're free to go. Remember, be careful. If you forget something, what does that mean? You could be going back to the precinct, right? And nobody wants to do that.
But you'll still bring your blue precinct bag, but this is what you'll hand us. It'll make check-in a lot faster.
Right, right. Also, clerks, inside there will be a little baggie with your supplies in it, and I presume cutters in here. Get those cutters out for the judges because they'll need it to cut the seals off of the e-scans, okay?
Precincts that share, they've got to share those cutters. So if there's cutters not in there, you got to walk over to the other precinct.
Okay, inside the same polling location.
We had some cutters walk off the last election.
Oh my goodness.
Baptist Church and the LaGrange Elementary School, those two people are going to.
Or bring cutters with you, right? Okay. Now, the forms that you'll use on election day, voter assistance, oath of voters, registration cards, forms like that, get those out and don't put them out where the voters can get to them. Those are really to be used for the sheriffs to help the clerks to have voters fill them out, okay? So that we also ask the sheriffs to do that. Sheriffs, we also want you to help assemble these booths while the judges are getting the machines up and running first thing in the morning.
We just have the tabletop cardboard things for us.
Oh, do you? Oh, you don't use the actual booths? Okay. Or at least set the tabletops dividers out on top of the tables, okay? That really helps while the judges are over setting up the equipment. Judges, where's my judges? All right. You guys are going to get the machines up and running, correct? And inside your book there, you have an election school machine training guide. All right? This isn't new except the cover of it. Inside this is your old e-slate and e-scan instruction booklets. Okay? Now, I always ask, both judges work together. One judge will read, and one judge does it step by step. You can't go wrong in getting the equipment set up, okay? And it works very well. Please don't have a third person come in and try and help. And the reason I say that, if you have two hands over there while one's reading and both hands are pushing buttons, you're going to end up missing a step, and then you're going to have to start over, right? Has that happened? I'm sure it has. Okay, any questions on those?
Can I tell y'all something else real quick that I meant to tell you earlier? Some of y'all may have seen that we have two different I voted stickers. I'm gonna try anything to try and engage voters to come out and vote. Let them have their choice. Most people, I think, like these, but there are some that want the traditional I voted. Just have both of them, let them decide and go on. But this will be something new, so you'll have two different types of I voted stickers in the back. But these are really cool.
Kind of got a vintage look to it. It's really nice. Okay. I want to take you through some scenarios here. In a perfect election day world, think about this. A voter comes into your precinct. The first person they greet is who? The clerk, sitting at a table. The clerk's going to ask some information from that voter, correct? What kind of information? For this election, we're going to ask for the party because we want to know if they're Republican or Democrat, right? Your book's, like I said, is divided between Democrat, Republican, nonpartisan. It helps to know what party. That gets you to the section quick. Next thing you're going to ask is a name, okay? Then you're going to ask for address. The address has to match, right? So we want to ask their address. We don't want to suggest an address. That way we know if the address has changed or not, okay? Then we'll ask for an ID. Or you may know that person personally, correct? Either way, we're going to get an ID or we know them personally. The little oval box out by the signature, we're going to fill that in, right? For the type of ID. Then the clerk's going to put their initials out by that. Or another election official if they know that voter personally. Then they're going to slide the roster out and let the person sign the signature roster. Okay? Then, do y'all use the R&D stickers? The little Republican, Democrat?
They're in their bags.
I encourage you to use those. They're little stickers, R&D, little squares. The reason for that, a lot of voters come in, folks, and they're sensitive. They don't want other people knowing what party they are. Is this true? It is. All right. So you hand them one of those stickers after they've signed their name, either Republican or Democrat. They will get moved down in the line either to a precinct ballot judge that will hand them a paper ballot, or they may want to vote on this machine over here. Is everybody with me? So that voter will hand one of the judges that little slip of paper telling them they're Republican or Democrat. Then they either fill out their paper ballot or they vote on this machine. Somebody gives them one of the nice I voted stickers and they leave. That's a perfect election day if that happened all day long that way. Everything was smooth, right? Is that how it goes? No. It's not quite that easy, is it? Okay. We have situations where you're going to ask for the party, they're going to give it to you. They're going to give you you ask for their name, they give you their name. You go look in the Republican, you look in the Democrat, you look in the nonpartisan, you cannot find their name. What are you going to do? Okay, you look in the supplemental roster, you still can't find their name. What are you going to do? Call the clerk's office, okay? And folks, this is important. Anytime you can't match an address in the roster book or you can't find their name, call the clerk's office. The reason I say an address, if a person happened to be standing in line for 5 to 10 minutes, okay, and they get up to you and their address puts them in another precinct and you don't know how to get them to the precinct, but you're trying to help them get to the right precinct. And then maybe you send them to another precinct and they get there and they stand in line 5, 10 minutes there and they're at the wrong precinct again. Isn't it much easier if you just call the clerk's office and they give you the right precinct and then that voter's happy? So let's make sure we do that and we don't confuse the voters. Okay, you've called the clerk's office. The person's name's not in the roster anywhere. But the clerk decides that they are registered. Somehow they were either inadvertently removed from the roster book, or maybe they moved and it puts them into that precinct. But she's going to tell you, go ahead and let that person vote. In order for that person to vote, if their name's not in the roster, they're going to have to fill out some information, correct? Going to have to fill out one of these? Oath of voter form? Okay. Making sure that it's filled out correctly and signed down at the bottom by an election official. You're going to give them one of these, right? New registration card to fill out. Make sure we get a change of address on them if that's the case. All right? They have to sign one other thing before they can vote. What is it? Precinct supplemental roster. Okay? Then they're allowed to vote. Do you ever get any situations when females come in and their last name doesn't match that in the roster book? What causes that? Marriage or divorce. Happens all the time, doesn't it? When those things occur, make sure that you give them a registration card to get their name changed so we can get it updated for the next election, okay? Do you have any situations where people move in and out of the county? Maybe they moved from your county to another county. Why would they be back in your precinct trying to vote if they moved to another county? Very good. What happened was they moved after the magical date, April the 20th, the last day to register to vote. So if they left Oldham County, moved to another county after April the 20th, they're allowed to come back to their old precinct and vote one time and one time only. Okay? Give those folks a new registration card to fill out to turn into the new county clerk. Now, if they moved before April the 20th, are they allowed to vote? They're not allowed to vote in their old precinct or their new precinct. Give those folks a new registration card so they can be updated with their new county clerk and they're eligible for the next election. Any questions? Okay. I don't care to take questions during, it doesn't bother me, but if you want to hold them to the end, that's fine too. You guys have a open, closed task sheet. I don't think it's in your booklets, is it?
It's in the precinct bag.
But it's going to be in each precinct bag, correct? Yeah. You're going to have a bright green one that's in your precinct bag. The only reason I'm referring to this is after you read the book and all the information, that morning when you get there, if you use this open and closed task sheet as a checklist, it works very well because it's specifically to sheriff, judges, and clerks exactly what's going on that morning and then when the last voter is voted, okay? So don't forget to get these out and have these handy when you're opening and closing.
And really, if you all use that, you will not miss anything. And it will eliminate calls as far as where is the key for the e-scan machine, because it's on there. It will also tell you that your power cord is inside the machine. It lays it out just real simply for you. So if you will just use it and check it off, it'll make your mornings and ours really smooth.
Do we have challengers?
No.
Has that changed at all since last year?
The sheet, we took off some stuff that was not relevant
And
anymore.
you added this.
We added that.
And this is referenced in there, how to use it and when to use it, so.
Of course, no challengers, of course, there's no provisional ballot, so.
No challengers and no provisionals this election. There's no federal offices, so you won't have the orange bag with the provisional ballots to deal with for this election, which is very good. Sheriffs, please don't forget your or your precinct sheriff's post-election report. Anything that happens during the day, any irregularities, fill that out, and then there's a section down at the bottom to post any comments or suggestions for the future elections. All these must be signed, okay? Now, do you ever get situations where voters come in and they may need actually assisted in voting? Somebody has to help them fill their ballot out or maybe go over to this machine and help them vote. Does that happen? Voter assistance. What's the 3 cases that qualify for a voter to have someone to assist them? Blindness, physical disability, or inability to read English, okay? In every situation, if a voter falls into that, this form must be used and filled out and signed, okay? There's a section at the top for their name. There's a place for the voter to actually mark which category and sign. Obviously, if that voter is a blind person, they can make a mark in here by assistance, and 2 people need to attest it, okay, or witness it. There's a section down here for the person assisting the voter. If that voter brought someone with them, their name would go in here. If they brought no one with them, who assists? Both judges must assist and sign this. Also, there's a place to apply a request for permanent assistance on here. Now, here's the catch. The only time a person can apply for permanent assistance if they fall into blindness or physical disability. Inability to read English does not qualify for permanent assistance, okay? Down at the very bottom, there's a place for a date and a signature, again for election official, must be signed. If a person has already filled out for permanent assistance, inside your roster book by their name, it used to have asterisks. Now it will have PA, permanent assistance. That's a little change that was made, okay? It's in your book. You're all going to read the books, right? Okay. So if a person has filled out for permanent assistance and their name is marked with PA in the roster book, does that form have to be used? Yes. It has to be filled out with their name at the top. They don't have to sign it again, but the person assisting them has to sign that form, and it has to be turned in, okay? So make sure you fill those out correctly and they're turned in. Any questions on any of the forms or anything I've covered so far? All right, I'm going to take you through machine training. You guys ready? I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to take you through it. Let's start with the E-scan. We already found out the key to the E-scan is going to be located where? The roster book. In your instructions, it tells you to locate the key, unlock the lid to this. Please remove this and place it somewhere where no one can step on this lid. On top, you will find a 0 tape left on the machine. This can be validated against either your precinct ballots or a sample ballot to make sure it matches. You have a pink verification form on this machine. We want you, the judges, to validate information, don't we? Precinct name, serial number, any seal numbers that are located on the machine. The precinct name and the serial numbers located on a pouch right here, right on the front or up on top of the scanner itself. Obviously, here's your yellow seal, a blue seal, and the red seal, or the E-scan seal as it's referred to, is right here on the side of the machine. That protects the MBB, the mobile ballot box card, that stores all the cast vote records. Then there's another thing on here. It's called a PVT count start number. Does everybody know what that means? PVT count number, it's referred to as a private counter number. It's like the odometer of a car. So how many people's cars have odometers and little trip meters? Okay. Up in the top left corner is your private counter. That's the life of this machine. How many votes has ever been cast through this machine? Over in the right-hand corner is what's called the public count. For every election, we reset the public count to 0, like your trip meter. But this private counter number just keeps on adding, one at a time. We want you to validate that starting counter number in the left corner, okay? Public count should say 0 when you start. If you add 100 votes on election day, your public counter will go to 100, and that PVT number over on the left side will go up by 100, okay? It's important to do that because at the end of the night, we want you to record that counter number again. So the beginning and the ending numbers should match your public counter number, okay? How important are your public count numbers on machines? Really important. Periodically throughout the day, folks, you should take your public count numbers off this device and off this device. Those two added together should match what? Number of signatures in your roster book. Here's how this works. If you had 100 signatures in a roster book and you had 101 on your machines, is that a problem? It is, because you don't know if somebody failed to sign this precinct signature roster or if somebody voted twice, correct? All right. Here's how it works. Most often we find out that people fail to get signatures in the roster book. If you did this periodically throughout the day, say every hour and a half, 2 hours, you're more likely to remember who didn't sign the roster book than you were if you waited and did this all the way at the end of the day. Because after a 14-hour day, you're going to forget, right? So do this periodically throughout the day and check those numbers, okay? All right. Once I've validated everything, that starting count number, I'll wait and do that after I get the machine up. With your cutters, you'll cut the seal off. What do we do with seals when we put them in this new bag that you have? Just drop it in there when you cut them off. That includes this one, and at the end of the night, the red seals, okay? With the key, unlock the side of the tub. You're going to find some stuff in here, right? A black ballot bag with your ballots in it. The JBC is in there in the black bag. Did everybody hear that? The JBC is stored inside this machine in the black bag as well. And the new posters. And your new posters, your precinct posters will be in there. Also down at the base of this machine is what we call a privacy screen for this. Please make sure you get this out. If this was left in there and you forgot it, as ballots are dropping in up against the wall, they'll start wedging and they'll create a pyramid, and then you may have problems scanning ballots that day, okay? So please do not forget this. Also, the storage drawer. It's where you're going to find your power supply to this unit, correct? All right, do not forget it. Now, before you lock this back up, visually inspect inside here and make sure this is completely empty, all right? Lock it. Do not seal it with the blue seal until the machine is up and running, okay? First thing you want to do is place this power brick on a working outlet first. Once it's in, get a green light. You know the power's working, you got power. Take this to the back of the machine, lay it up in there. Make sure your switch on the back of this unit is in the off position. Then plug it in. Now you can turn it on. Red light comes on, we know we got power to the unit. That takes about 2 minutes for that to fully come up. The ballots. You're only going to have Democratic and Republican ballots for this election. Ballot judge. Make sure that you pull the top ballot off of the Democrat and Republican. Okay? And the reason we say this, lay the top one, and these are going to be labeled for you, Democrat and Republican, and if you, my example has 4 pads here, 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, make sure you grab pad number 1 first. Put the rest of these back into the ballot bag, keep them secure and out away from voters, just throw them under the table, okay? Because we don't want all the ballots out at one time, just the top pads. Now, everybody has a copy of this ballot accountability statement. The judges will be using this. This is going to be pre-marked for you with your county name and precinct name and information up the top. It's also going to tell you how many pads of ballots were sent out to your precinct, Republican and Democrat. Then they give you the starting number. That starting number comes off of pad number 1 down at the stub section. It'll have a serial number on there. There's 50 ballots to a pad. The stub's down here. The serial number to pad number 1 is recorded for you. Your job is to keep track of spoiled ballots throughout the day for Republican and Democrat. And then, at the end of the night, record the ending serial number. What's the ending serial number? It's the next available ballot that you would have handed out to a voter. So you find that next available ballot. It could be anywhere, pad number 3, 4, 5. You go down to whatever that ballot is that you would be giving out to the next voter, had they come in and voted, go right down to the bottom and record that serial number off the stub. Okay? Is everybody clear with that? That's how we keep track of how many ballots were used throughout the day and how many's unused. Okay. Now, the screen's up. It says open pose or print 0. What am I going to do? Print 0. Always print a 0 tape. When this comes back up, it's going to come back up and say open pose print 0. At that point, I can go ahead and open the pose by hitting the button open pose. It's going to ask for a password. What's a password? 6 ones. You get 6 ones by hitting the top button, hit the middle button, it moves over a box. You hit the top button again. You just keep doing this until you get a 1 in every box. Then you say accept by hitting the button. Ready to scan, insert ballot. This machine is ready for voters to start scanning ballots. Simply take this paper tape and pull up on it and tear it off. That gives you plenty of space at the bottom now for all election officials to sign. All 4 of you must sign it. Place this inside the blue and white envelope, the e-scan tally tape envelope, and mark it off. We know we have it, right? Okay. At this point, we can now put our blue seal on the scanner and lock that up. Put our key back where? In your red bag where it says e-scan key. We can drop it right in there so we have it for closing at night. And last but not least, make sure you put this on with the troubleshooting guide towards the back. Any questions on opening the scanner? Yes? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Did everybody hear that? She said that the stamps, Democrat and Republican, were accidentally stamped on the wrong ballots. And I'm glad she mentioned that. when you're going through these ballots, folks, check 2 things to make sure that those match your stamps. Make sure you're Republican and Democrat, but also make sure they're the right precinct ballots, okay? So I can't ever say that's happened here. I know you guys do a thorough job of that stuff, but make sure that you have the right precinct ballots, because you don't want the machines up and running and then find out you have the wrong ballots, because they're precinct specific and they will only work with your scanners for your precinct, okay? Thank you. All right, this machine over here, I've got the legs pre-assembled on this. It wouldn't do it any justice for me to sit here and assemble the legs for you, because you wouldn't see it. If anybody here has problems with this, see me after the class, okay? This JBC, it takes 2 parts to get this E-Slate up and running, correct? The JBC is found in the black bag inside the scanner when you get it out. In that bag, it'll have a precinct name and serial number on the top of the bag, but the zipper pouch up top has 2 cables in it, a long gray cable and a small black cable, which is your power cable to this unit. Pull this machine out, get those cables out. Just like the other machine, you're going to have a verification form where you validate information, which is your precinct name, serial number, seal numbers, and the starting counter number, okay? Just like that machine, once that's up and running, the counter numbers are up top left corner up there. The counter number and public count numbers are in the bottom left and right corner of this screen on this machine. So validate those numbers once it's running. The first thing your instructions are going to say for the E-Slate is to connect the long gray cable from this unit over to this unit. It's color coded, right? You all remember this? Red to red. It says the word top on it. Make sure you can read the word top once you plug this in. And I know that sounds silly, but we've had people put that in correctly and it bends pins, and the unit will not work if those pins are bent. Same thing on the back of this. You put black to black and the word top's on it. So make sure you can read the word top and you've corrected it or put it in correctly. Once those are connected, raise the lid. Always get your headphones out of this top storage drawer here and just simply lay them over the top of this lid, and don't forget to put your privacy screens down on each side, okay? They unfold and they tab right here. For demonstrations, I'm going to leave those up. Your black power cord goes into the back of this unit. It's a 3-prong cord, and it plugs into a working outlet. As soon as the lights come up on this machine, and you can see the lights are up on that, you can then place, does everybody know what this is? This is your battery backup key. Just install that, tighten it down, and this will give you, in case you lost power to the precinct, you'll have battery backup on these 2 units for 12 to 14 hours. That machine is not battery backup, all right? Now it comes up, it says booth assignment, proceed to booth number 1, follow the instructions. You walk over to your booth number 1, it says press enter, so hit the enter button. You get a yellow square around the 01. That means you've assigned this booth is now talking to this unit, okay? If you miss that step, you have to take it off electric, off battery, put it back on, and then go over and assign the booth, okay? 0 tape up on top, just like the other machine. Once the booth is assigned, hit the button that says done, then next, open pose or print 0. Print 0 tape. Once that's complete, I can now hit the button that says open pose. Wants a password? 6 ones, just like the other machine. Say accept. It's up and running. We're ready to add voters, okay? Now, pull up on this tape a little bit, tear it off. That gives you plenty of space at the bottom for all election officials. Place this in your red and white E-slate envelope, opening 0 tape, and mark it off. Any questions on opening? Okay, we'll go through some scenarios here with you. Somebody had a question? Oh, I'm sorry.
On the machine there, on the ballots, Democrat or Republican, if they get the wrong ballot and mark it, and then they go, before they put it in there and say, oh, I got the wrong ballot,
Okay,
how do you correct your ballot?
okay. If they were accidentally handed a Republican and they asked for a Democrat,
Yeah.
okay, that's one reason to use your little post slips, okay? So the voter understands they're a Republican or Democrat and they hand it to the judge. Always validate that you're giving them the right ballot. But if that was to occur and they walked over to a private voting area and they filled their ballot out, are you asking me if they scanned it or if they have not scanned it? They realized it? Okay. Then at that point you would have them spoil that ballot and reissue a new ballot to them.
And how do you correct your count of ballots?
Well, I'm going to go through this, but any time that you spoil a ballot, make sure you mark spoiled ballot right here, Republican and Democrat, okay? So that's a good question, but if you ever spoil a ballot, make sure you mark it either Republican and Democrat, and then reissue a new ballot to them, okay? I'll get to you in just a second, sir. Another thing about ballots, if you ever hand a ballot to a voter, don't ever touch that ballot again, okay? You're not allowed to. From that point on, it has to be handled by the voter, okay? Whether it's a mistake or anything else. Yes, sir.
Early on, you said E-slate has a preference for a voter. Do we have a preference? Do we try to do all printed ballots? At one training years ago, we said we needed to use the E-slate some, and we needed to have more than one voter vote on it. If we have 0 voters on it, is that okay? Do we try to get people to do the written ballots? What do we do?
Okay, here's the thing. There's 2 machines in your precinct. The voter has a choice which one they vote on. It's not your preference whether they vote paper or this machine. You leave that up to the voter, okay? So most voters, and I can tell you this, are going to vote paper. It's just the way it is. Most voters have a more comfortable feeling and easy feeling about paper ballots. You'd be surprised how many young voters that are coming up, they think this is a big iPad to them, okay? And they love stuff like this. So it's as younger people are coming up in the generation, you're going to find more people to start wanting to vote on this, okay? But it's a voter's choice, all right? I will tell you this, though, and the state board concurs with this, whatever route they start on, if they started on this machine, they need to finish on this machine. If they start on paper, they need to finish on paper. You can't let them start one place and spoil ballot and then move them to another, all right?
And that is not something that I take lightly, because that is where, even if voter fraud is not occurring, it sure looks suspicious. So if they start on one machine, they must finish it, and if they don't like it, you can call the clerk's office, and the Board of Elections will make a decision, and I can promise you, they will say and direct that voter to finish voting on the machine that they started on. But I will say this, the last election, I received some calls, not from one precinct, but from several. The precinct officers are not to direct a voter to one specific machine. It is absolutely the voter's preference. And if you don't like one machine over the other, that's fine. Then don't you vote on it. Do not interject your opinion. It is their right to choose, and I think they feel somewhat disenfranchised anyway, and we definitely want to engage the voter, let them exercise their right in the way that suits them the best, okay?
Follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
Who asks the voter and when?
Who asks the voter?
What their preferences and when?
It could be the clerk, or it could be a judge. If you hand those R&D stickers to them, and the clerk said, you have a ballot, paper ballot judge right here, which will most often be sitting near the clerk, or the other judge can assist you on the other machine if you want to vote on that. And just leave it at that and let them decide which judge they're going to go to. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
It does not have to be voted.
Have the envelopes with the small ballots in?
Yes, I'm covering that. Some of these questions are jumping ahead of my little skit that I do, but it's okay. I like questions. They're good. Now, let's say a voter comes in and they're processed by the clerk and everything's great, and they're passed down and they want to vote paper, okay? And they're given a paper ballot, and they walk into a private area over here and they fill their ballot out. There's a judge that's going to be sitting at a table handing this paper ballot out, correct? Where's the other judge going to be? I want the other judge close to these two machines if they're in proximity to one another. The reason for that is we want you to engage that voter when they step out filling one of these out and greet them. And I want you to walk the voter over to this scanner and say, ma'am, sir, please place your ballot face down right here and show them where the hand is. You can scan your ballot right there and then step out. This is a private voting area. The reason we ask you to do this is we are finding ballots that are stuck underneath, or they're stuck in the side over here. It says stub and spoil ballots. If we find those there, those folks never cast their ballot, did they? They never got processed. So if you show them where to place the ballot, they're going to scan it, hopefully in the proper place. Okay? Now, let's say you've done your job, judges, and you've given the voter and they've processed the ballot and they're walking over and you tell them place their ballot face down here and they scan their ballot. What happened? It kicked the ballot out. What are you going to tell that voter? Tell them to pull it out and turn it over and try it again, okay? What happened? Kicked it out again. After a couple attempts, don't frustrate the voter, okay? Ask them to read to you what it says on the screen. In this case, it says, Attorney General, contest is overvoted. Now what are you going to tell the voter?
You have the choice of either voting every race but the Attorney General, or getting a new ballot.
Very good. You tell the voter they have a choice. Their choice is they can cast the ballot the way it is, okay? Before they cast their ballot the way it is, you explain to them that anything marked properly will count. Anything that is marked or overvoted will not count. Or their choice is they can spoil the ballot and be reissued a new ballot. Okay? Voter's choice. And you'd be surprised how many voters don't want to fool with filling out another ballot. And they may say to you, well, how do I cast my ballot? So you're going to tell them how to cast the ballot, right? Because you all know. How do you cast the ballot? You hit a button on the screen right by the word it says cast ballot. So instruct them, right on the screen there's the word cast ballot. Please hit the button right beside that word and it takes their ballot in. So anything marked properly counted, anything overvoted did not. Now if that voter decided instead of casting the ballot they want to have it spoiled, have them to pull that ballot out, have them to trifold that ballot, walk them over to the table, hand them a spoiled ballot envelope for them to put the ballot into, and remember to mark spoiled ballot on your ballot accountability statement, okay? Then everything's square and everything's good, and then have them place this spoiled ballot into the side of the tub over here where it says stub and spoiled ballot, okay? And then reissue a new ballot to them. Yeah, yeah. You will have to make sure you understand which party it is before you reissue a new ballot to them, Republican or Democrat. Okay.
Would you please emphasize again that the judges are not to touch the ballots? I was working one election where the judge was helping, and it was just terrible. So just if you could emphasize the fact that
She wants me to re-emphasize to you folks that she was working in a precinct and judges were touching the ballots after voters had problems with them. You cannot touch a ballot once it's been handed to a voter. That is a private ballot. Once you give it to them, it's theirs, okay? Don't ever touch a ballot again. Now, I want to cover something with you that I normally don't cover, but have you ever had a situation where a voter's frustrated and they don't want to finish marking the ballot, or they don't want to cast the ballot even though it's blank? Has that ever occurred? Yes, I'm seeing her. Okay, here, let me assure you, if a voter has a ballot, two things have to occur with it, whether they fill it out or not. It has to be cast or it has to be spoiled, okay? This will accept a blank ballot, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate to you, if I tear off one of these ballots, and I insert a blank ballot, it will spit it back out. Well, not this time. But it does, it's hung up in there, but it does say ballot has no selections, ballot is blank, and it still has the word on there, cast ballot, and you hit that button, and it drops a blank ballot. All right? So it does spit it back out. That one had something going on with it. I've got it sideways or something. Same thing over here. If a person came over here and engaged their 4-digit number and pulled a ballot up on here and got frustrated, you can still cast a blank ballot on this machine as well. Okay? So this will accept blank ballots, and so will that. Now, if a person has their ballot up here and they're frustrated and they don't want to cast their ballot, you still have the option of going over here and canceling that booth, okay? That's kind of like spoiling the ballot over here versus spoiling a ballot over here. All right? Yes?
If you cancel the vote, then is your signature and vote count gonna match?
Nope.
Okay.
No. Now, if anybody, let's say the guy doesn't want to cast a blank ballot over here and he spoils it and you put it into the side, your signatures and your public counts do not match. Write that up in the sheriff's report and note it. Okay? That is acceptable as long as you're aware of it and you know it. What's not acceptable is when your signatures are less than these numbers. Okay? Because that means you missed getting a signature or somebody voted twice. And that's more of an issue than it happens, folks. And this is why we always tell clerks not to let people sign the precinct signature roster unless there's a place for them to go fill a ballot out or a booth for them to cast a ballot. Because if they got frustrated and signed the precinct signature roster and they leave, are they allowed to come back and vote? No. Once you sign and you leave, you're done. But some people, this happens to, that they, for whatever reason, they get frustrated or whatever and decide, I don't want to cast it, I'm leaving. No voter can leave with a ballot. They either have to be spoiled or they have to be cast, even if they're blank. So, if that occurs and they don't cast their ballot and they end up spoiling it, note it in the sheriff's report that your numbers are going to be off. Okay?
If somebody's frustrated here and you cancel the e-slate, Can they take a paper ballot?
No, we already discussed that a while ago. You can't move from one to the other. All right?
What happens when you cancel it over there? Can he vote, I mean, how does he vote again if he spoils it out over there? You said you just go over, cancel it, what happens?
Okay. Let's say a voter comes over here and engages this and finds out he's Democrat, but you gave him a Republican ballot style.
Say he messed up and you said he got frustrated, you went and canceled his vote. That was the example you gave. He just got frustrated and you canceled the vote on that.
Mhm.
You just said it's like.
You're not canceling the vote, you're canceling the booth, which in essence is like spoiling a ballot, okay? So your public count numbers don't go up on this machine.
So, but it doesn't match, so how do you reconcile that?
You never reconcile it. You have to make a note in your sheriff's report to say they're off.
Okay, so you
Okay.
don't have, the judge doesn't have something that he can mark down?
No. No. You mean like a spoiled ballot? No, no. That's why we say note it somewhere that you're keeping track of this, because if you're periodically checking throughout the day for your public counts and your signatures, you need to know why there's a discrepancy. And even if you have a discrepancy and you don't know why there's a discrepancy, you got to write it down in the sheriff's report and note it, okay? So they're aware of it.
That guy gets frustrated and he gets upset with you. If you tell him you're gonna spoil his ballot, he's not gonna be able to count.
Well, you got to let him decide. You just don't go cancel his ballot on him. If a voter's frustrated, their choice is you got to finish casting your ballot the way it is, or we're going to, on that one, cancel the booth. Just don't cancel the booth on them without them being okay with it. All right?
But if they cancel the booth, can they re-enter the vote?
Well, here's the thing, and this is the other scenario. If they're a Democrat and you gave them a Democrat ballot, they need to get through that ballot.
Right.
They need to cast it. If they don't and they want it removed, the only way to remove it by spoiling it is canceling the booth, okay? Now, if you gave them the wrong ticket, if they're Democrat and you gave them Republican, then you would cancel the booth and reissue a new ticket to them for the proper ballot style.
Okay.
That's okay if that was done in error by a judge, all right? That's why we insist that you guys use those little stickers, Republican, Democrat, because as the person comes in and gives their name to the clerk and they find out what party, the clerk will hand them the appropriate sticker that they give to the judge. Anytime you engage this machine by hitting Add Voter and it says Democrat or Republican, and you print the 4-digit ticket, please ensure before you hand that to the voter that you match it. It says REP or DEM on there, back to the little stub they gave you. That way you won't have that problem of handing them the wrong ballot style. Okay? Everybody good? Yes. Okay.
I heard you say to advise the voter to place their ballot face down.
That's for privacy. It doesn't have to.
Okay, because
Yeah.
you were saying, oh, just put it down either way, but.
It can go in either direction, but we always tell people if they put it face down, that's for their privacy. Okay? Now, what's your second question? What is what?
Overvoting.
Oh, overvoting is when you have 2 selections in any race or more, and it's a vote for one, and you make 2 selections, and you're only allowed 1, that's an overvote. Okay? Very good question.
That may not be intentional. Somebody could have inadvertently put a mark that the scanner sees that it thinks someone marked. So
Absolutely.
it can show an overvote when they only voted once.
Yeah, and that's why we ask people to fill the box in completely and not put checks and X's, because that way you don't tend, when you put an X or a check, it could lead to another box. So if they fill the box in correctly or fully or attempt to, it's a lot easier for them to determine, especially if we got into what we call a recount situation, what the voter's intent was. But yes, any errant mark inside a box could create an overvote, and it's not intentional always by a voter, okay? But the voter still has a choice. Cast the ballot the way it is or spoil the ballot, okay? How many ballots is a voter allowed to receive before they're done? 3 ballots total, okay? So if they've already spoiled 2, please tell them this is your third and final chance to get this right. Yes, ma'am.
I just have another recommendation, when the person votes in here before they walk out, if we let the next person go in to vote, they should cast the ballot.
Yes.
Had that person left, never casted it.
That's going to lead me to what I'm about ready to tell you here. But these are great questions. Does everybody see this light on here? This green light? Okay. Judges, if a voter is using this machine, I want you to operate this way. I'm going to hit add voter and pick one here and print a 4-digit ticket out. Okay. Notice the light's green. That's telling me this is available for use. Okay. If I'm the voter and I'm over here in this booth and this is private and it's turned, you can't see anything. As soon as I engage this machine and my ballot comes up, this light changes from green to what? Red. All right? You're supposed to watch these lights, because if a voter's over here and this is private and they think, and this is the odd thing about this machine, it's a great thing, but it's an odd thing. If I fully complete my ballot, it goes to what's called a summary page. Then I cast my ballot. If I only partially vote this, it doesn't go anywhere. Then I hit cast ballot, then it goes to the summary screen. So I may think by hitting that cast ballot button and it not being fully voted, is everybody following me?
Yes.
And it goes to the summary page that I voted. So we always tell voters on this machine or that machine, do not leave until you see what?
The flag.
The American flag waving. But some people don't pay attention to that, okay? So if I partially vote this and I hit cast ballot and I think I'm done and my feet walked out of here, you're going to know that they didn't finish casting the ballot because this light is still red, okay? How many people remember the old 1242 machines, the Shooptronics with the big curtains? As a judge, you had to stand in the back and hit officer's control. That brought the lights up and people will be in there voting. You knew they cast the ballot because when their feet walked away, those lights had to go off, right? If they walked out of there and the lights were still on, they didn't cast their ballot and you had to run them down and bring them back, right? If a voter was to fully get out of your precinct without casting this ballot, the light's still red and you missed it and they got out of your precinct, what do you have to do, judges? Both of you have to walk over to this machine and reach your hands in together and press the cast ballot button and finish casting. We prefer the voter to do this, right? So if you watch the lights on the machine, that will help you to know that the voter did cast their ballot or not. Great questions. All right, any more? None? Yes?
What about children?
Children. Children are allowed to accompany voters in as long as they're 17 years or younger, considered minors, okay? If a child is with a person over here, just encourage the voter to make sure that's eye candy to children, any buttons. So don't let them cast that ballot for them, because if a child came in here and hit that thing twice, it cast their ballot, they're done, right? Okay.
And the age is 17 or younger.
Well, if a person in a primary is 17 and they turn 18
I have a reason.
on or before the general election, they're considered eligible to vote. So,
But we're talking about children who are observing.
Mhm.
I was challenged by the challenger at the last election because we allowed somebody 12 years old to just have to watch.
No, it's,
I realize that, we showed the person, but
Yeah.
I want to be absolutely sure.
yeah, it's in the book,
Just because somebody is a challenger does not make them,
Exactly.
authority.
an authority
Exactly.
on, and we found that, and they go, they're trained just like
Right,
you are.
Right, and,
So-
and we found it, and we,
That's when you pick up the phone and call us, and,
or it's in here.
you know, and I'll tell you, on election day, I'll take care of business real quickly, because I just do not want any sense of impropriety going on in any of my polling locations, period.
And I have, has to do with, calling the clerk about a voter who's not sure about a precinct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the sheriff of my precinct, and I've always offered the clerk, who's very busy, to do the phoning for them. And I call and I give my phone to the person, because they
The
always-
voter?
the
Yeah,
voter,
that's fine.
Because they ask the social security number, and I have heard social security numbers being announced out loud in the precinct, and I think that is just so, it's not a good thing. I mean,
No.
it's a privacy. So I always hand that phone to them so they can talk and they can give whatever information is necessary.
Sure.
Okay.
That's more of a suggestion.
And that's fine. People have to communicate to us, and it's their choice how they,
Yeah.
the tone of their voice, so we'll just, that's up to them, that's their discretion.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to provide cell phones today?
I've got to tell you, I'm not. And if, I need to discuss with the people that did the precincts about them using theirs. The problem I have with the cell phones that we were using is they repurpose cell numbers. And what happened the last 2 times is, at every election, I would take them, have AT&T load them full of, however many hours or whatever. But these were phone numbers that people had. They did not eliminate texting, and most of the phones had no minutes left. And AT&T said, too bad for you. Well, that's a lot of money. And so it's cheaper for me to talk to the people in the precincts and pay them $10 or $15 for the use of a cell phone, which is more than enough coverage for a day. And it's just easier, because there's just no other option at this point, because they just keep reusing phone numbers that everybody texts with, and the phones are not available.
Okay. Going to do what we call quick closing here. With your machine guides, the judges, when the last voter has voted, you will hit the red button on the back of this machine. It's going to come up and ask you for a password. 6 ones, just like you started with. You go through all the steps, and it's going to come up and say print tally. How many tally tapes are we going to print? 3. Sign all 3. The top 2, I want you to bring the top 2 back to the clerk's office. Make sure you put those in the respective envelopes, okay? Mark it. The last copy gets put where? On the precinct door on the outside. Turn this machine off. You'll break the red seal on the side, okay? Snap that seal off. Make sure you keep all your seals like we talked about. And then there's a button inside this door here that you press on the right side and remove your card. Place it inside the MBB or the e-scan envelope. Over on this machine, you hit the button close PO. It's going to ask for a password. 6 ones. Print tally comes up. You print 3 tally tapes. The top 2 come back to the clerk's office in your respective envelope. You break the seal on the side of this machine, remove your MBB card, okay? Now, those tally tape envelopes, and don't forget to record your ending PV count numbers off your machines, okay? This is all in your instructions. Make sure we get the e-scan key back in here, the 2 tally tape envelopes, your ballot accountability statement must be signed by all election officials and filled out. Sheriff's report signed and filled out. Now, I'm going to ask you for one other thing to be put in here, okay? And it's not on here, and I don't think she's going to mind. Any forms that were used throughout the day, oath of voters, new registration cards, your, escaping me here, the Voter assistance form, thank you. Place those used forms in here along with those envelopes. That way they're not digging for all the forms that were filled out versus the ones that were not, okay? And they have a complete record of everything that was important that day, okay? This is what they're going to grab and get out here, folks, and pull those envelopes out. If you have your 2 tally tapes from each machine and your MBB cards, they're going to process you and let you go. If you missed any, you're going to go back and get it, right? So make sure you take your time and do this. What else are we bringing back with us?
JBC.
Our ballot bag with the unused ballots and spoiled ballot envelopes in it, and put your power brick inside that to this machine so you don't leave it out there and we have a chance of losing it. You can fold this up and leave it beside the scanner. Make sure you put the lid on it and slide it back to where you found it that morning. Make sure you put the JBC back into your black bag with the cords. Don't forget the cables, the gray and black cables, and the JBC comes back with you. Bring your roster book and your supply bag back with all the unused supplies. Clerks, do not forget to go in and count your signatures on your roster book for how many people voted in person and how many people voted absentee. There's a summary page at the back of your roster. Make sure that's done and sign that form and bring that back.